I love this. Mostly I write for teachers, so I teach teachers. We'll talk later. Okay, so I'm going to read the question just as she did. I'm going to give you 15 seconds to think of your own answer. You don't have to write it down unless you want to. That's called the think part. So some of you like to be able to show that you know the answer before anybody else talks about it. You know what I mean? And if you have this think time, then you do have a chance to write down your own idea first and you know it's your idea. Then after about 15 seconds, I'm going to say, okay, now take the next 30 seconds and talk to your partner so you can add to what you've already written. Therefore, when we call on you, you speak for the partnership, but you can say either what was your idea or what was the partner's idea. In other words, the partners are helping each other come up with a good list of content and of ideas, but we don't need both partners to respond. Then the next step is going to be, I'm going to call on another person to answer the same question, and another person to answer the same question. And again, you can't pass, and you can't say, I don't know. So that means that when you take your notes on your card, you should get down as many ideas as you can in the time that's available. Does that make sense to you? Okay, then I'm going to say, after I call 3 or 4 of your beautiful, beautiful sticks, I'm going to say, who has something to add? Now, some of you always want to add something. But because when you want to add something, you're rehearsing it in your head, what am I going to say if she calls on me? What am I going to say? You don't even hear what the other kids are saying. Nod your head if you know what I mean. Yes? So the rule about adding something is you may not repeat what someone else has said. If that happens, only the teacher is allowed to say, well, that's a repeat, which means I wouldn't be able to call on you again during this discussion to add anything because you've already repeated what someone else has said. So when we don't allow you to repeat, what we're really asking you to do is listen even harder so that when your card comes up, you'll be able to have a response. Raise your hand if you think you understand what I'm doing. I knew it. Okay, here's the question. John Smith had a no work, no food rule. Do you agree with this rule and think it was a good rule? Why or why not? Now don't speak to anyone and just think about what your own answer is going to be. Okay, that's 15 seconds or so. Now for 30 seconds, talk to your partner and add to your list. And the signal I'm going, wait. The signal I'm going to use to get you to pay attention to me again is the same signal your teacher uses, which is 1, 2. Good for you. Okay, so what reasons do you have for voting the way you did? That was a good rule or a bad rule, and why? Go ahead, talk to your partners. 1, 2, 3, 4. Love that. So when I call your name, since I don't know you very well, raise your hand and let me know who I'm talking to. And this is Trey. Okay, now you can tell me either your idea or your partner's idea.
I agree 100% with the no work, no eat policy, because why should you be able to sit around all day and be lazy while other people work and still eat the same? No, you shouldn't eat if you don't work. That teaches people to work for what they want.
Thank you. Liam, where are you?
Here.
Okay, now you can't repeat what he said, but do you like the rule?
I like the rule because it stands strong and it makes people work. It sort of just makes them.
Thank you. Caitlin, go ahead.
I agree because the gentleman who came didn't want to work, but they wanted food. It was unfair to John to have to do all the work and get the food. Besides, the gentlemen need to be used to getting food for themselves.
Thank you. Who has something that they'd like to say that we haven't already talked about? Yes, ma'am.
I wrote if people who work didn't get food, that can be dangerous because if you like burn off a lot of calories and get really hot and everything, you need food to keep running.
Good thinking. Go ahead.
I agree with this rule because I think it's unfair for people to sit around while one man does the work. If this rule didn't exist, there'd be no Jamestown.
One more. Anybody else want to add something? Go ahead.
I agree with the rule
If you do not work, you don't get money and pay for food.
Okay? We're going to move on to the next question and do it the same way. John Smith came to the New World in chains. Did you know that? Because he wasn't considered a gentleman. His leadership eventually saved this very important colony of Jamestown. Does having a lot of money make you a good leader? Why or why not? Don't talk to anybody. Take 15 seconds to write down your own ideas or think of your own ideas. And now take 30 seconds to talk to your partner to add some more ideas to your list. I'm going to change this a little bit. If you said yes, money does make you a better leader, raise your hand. If you said no, it really doesn't matter how much money you have to be a good leader. Okay, so when I call your name, just give us one reason that you and your partner talked about why it's not important to have money in order to be a good leader. Where's Emily?
No, because it depends on what ideas you have and not what things you own.
Thank you. And how about Jenna?
I wrote no, because you can learn to do things on your own and you don't have to like look forward to money. You can try to do it on your own.
Okay, and is it Chal or Chal?
Kale.
Oh, sorry, not even close. Kale.
Money doesn't make you a better leader because you need to work up to the expectation.
Who has something to add that nobody has said already? Yes.
I did know because someone can have a lot of money and be a bad leader. Someone can be poor and be a good leader, or someone can have a lot of money. Anyone can be a good leader.
Okay,
It
thank
depends
you.
on how they treat people.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I wrote it can be bad and it can be good because if you have money, you can get food and water that everyone needs, but it won't help you be a good leader. Just give you supplies.
I sure like the way you folks think. And way back there.
I think no, because what happens when you lose all your money, when it's all gone?
Okay. We have to move on, but I love the fact that you have such wonderful things to add on to this. Okay, let me try another one. Roger Williams, where was he working? What colony was he active in?
Rhode Island.
Yes. Roger Williams believed that the church and the government, when we say state, we mean government, that the church rules and laws and the government rules and laws should not be together. How would our country be different today? How would your life, Monday through Sunday, be different today if our forefathers, if the people who put together the Constitution of this country had not wanted so desperately to keep church and state separate? Think of your own idea for 15 seconds. Okay, that's a hard question, isn't it? Yeah. So think back to the way their life was in England when they couldn't make a decision at all that their religion thought they should unless the government approved. So that means you start off in one church or synagogue or what do you call it, mosque here, and you want to change to another one, but first you got to go get the permission from the government. Would you like that? Would this be a free country if you had to ask for permission? Or sometimes people get to a point where they just decide, I don't want to go to church, I don't want to go to a synagogue, I want to do my praying at home. Should they have to get permission to do that? No. So I think the purpose of all of this stuff is for us to realize that this just isn't a history lesson. This is a thank you lesson, a thank you note to these people who were brave enough to walk away from everything they had in England. Walk away. Take a voyage over an ocean that made everybody sick and where many people died along the way, and come into a place where they had to wade ashore because there were no buildings, there was nobody to greet them, they had no idea if they were going to be alive or dead a year later, and many of them were not alive, right? Just for religious freedom. That's why we're talking about this. Do you have any questions? So what I'd like you to do now is talk to your partner, or two groups of partners talk together, and answer this question. This is called the name card or name stick method. In what ways do you think it makes the discussion better than if the teacher doesn't use the sticks or the cards? Talk to your partners about that. In what way is it better when a teacher doesn't call on kids whose hands are going up, but instead uses the cards or the sticks? No. I'm sorry, I may have misstated that, so let me clarify it. I'm asking you, in what way is the discussion better when the teacher does not just call on kids whose hands go up, but instead uses the cards or the sticks to call on you and you don't know when your name is coming up? So first talk about that, okay? Okay, before I call on anybody, raise your hand if you think it is a better discussion with these cards or sticks than it is if the teacher raises hands, calls on people whose hands are raised. Okay, so let me just call on a couple people to see what you have to say. Grant?
I think it is better because when you get picked a stick, that means you're not always going to know what the answer is, so you have to actually think and try.
How about that? A classroom where kids are always thinking. Isn't that a good thing? Is it Spencer? What do you think?
I really don't like sticks. I'd rather have hands because you could, if you have sticks, you might not ever be called.
But if you have hands, you might be called on more? Okay, you know how this method fixes that? Did you notice that after I got 2 or 3 responses, I always said after that, who would like to add? And so then is the time for the person who didn't get called on and thinks, doggone it, I wish you would have called on me, to raise your hand and add something. But I appreciate your comment, thank you. Who has another reason why you think this is better than not using the sticks? Sir.
Because I think if you're raising your hands, usually there's going to be a lot of kids who just like know the entire subject and they're raising their hand for everything. And if there's only 5 kids raising their hand, nobody else really has to do anything.
Just like sitting on there, you know what, doing nothing. Thank you. Yes, sir.
I think raising your hand is better because if you don't know the answer, what other people do, someone could pick your name out of the sticks and you would have to guess.
And what part of the method makes sure you're going to have an answer when your name is called, even if it's not your own answer?
When you're learning.
When you're learning it and when you're discussing it with whom?
With your partner.
Yes, thank you. Sir.
I think the sticks are better because that way the whole class has to pay attention and listen to what's happening around them as opposed to just like some said, just having the one person know it all and raise their hand every single time.
Yes.
The part when you talk to your partner, it gives you you can have one idea about something, but talking to your partner can give you another idea. So you can see the question from 2 different directions sometimes, and then you can have a better understanding of an appropriate answer for that question.
Okay, I can't tell you how thankful I am that you were so flexible and willing to just try this a different way just so I could show both methods on the tape. Do you have any questions? Give yourself a big hand. You were terrific. Thank you.